Billionaire's blind date cancelled. Discover the surprising inspiration from a single mom in tears. Jessica's fingers grazed the edge of the countertop, a flimsy shield against the chaos of shifting plates, the dull hum of clinking silverware, and her restless thoughts swirling like the steam from fresh coffee. One more table cleared, one more order taken. It should feel routine, but each scrape of a chair echoed her weariness, fueling the anxiety gnawing at her stomach. The weight of bills loomed larger every day. The light from the cafe window highlighted the shadows of doubt under her eyes. For Mia, her talented daughter, she faced the grind, but every moment felt like an exercise in futility. Just last week, Jess found a crumpled flyer at the bottom of her purse about an art contest, a spark of hope she tucked neatly away. But as she glanced over at the table where a couple laughed a life of ease, she could only dream about the crushing realization hit. This was it. Waitressing and working part-time meant evenings spent apart, stifled potential, creeping toward a stagnant future she feared might drown Mia's dreams before they ever took flight. "Are you okay, Jess?" her boss asked, snapping her from the abyss. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Just tired," she muttered, forcing a smile, but her mind strayed to the single mom stereotype that haunted her. "Listen up," her boss continued, the cafe doors swinging open behind him. "Billionaire's blind date got scrubbed. Could VE given us some buzz?" Hope pierced through the dense fog of worry for an instant, a light reflecting off a silver coin. What if that publicity jettisoned them into a better life? The thought was intoxicating, but it collided with the echo of self-doubt, the relentless voice taunting her worth, insisting she could never break free from her roles, merely a sagging waitress with fading dreams. As her spirit began to crumble under the looming specter of doubt, fate chose that moment to intervene. Lucas stepped into the cafe, tall and impeccably dressed, an aura of confidence swirling around him like a magnet. Jessica couldn't help but stare, a mix of admiration and disbelief. Their eyes locked for an inexplicable heartbeat, and she felt something she hadn't in years recognized. "Can I have a slice of your best pie?" he asked, his voice smooth, disarming. Feeling a rush of adrenaline, she simply nodded, a slight smile breaking through her anxious demeanor. As she served him, they exchanged pleasantries about the cafe's ambience, unexpectedly connecting over shared values of ambition and sacrifice. But then, an accidental insight unraveled the fragile tapestry of hope. As he spoke of the cancelled date, her stomach dropped. "So, it's true," she whispered, almost pleading for confirmation. Curiosity morphed into a cold realization. The publicity, her ticket, was just a byproduct of a privilege she could never tap into. Anger flickered inside her, mingling with pain, and the connection they had started to build now felt like the sharp edges of broken dreams. Before her fury could settle into words, a tension grew in the air, vulnerability crackling between them as he, too, confronted the isolation his fortune had cast over his life. Jess's voice trembled as she shared her dreams of uplifting families facing their own struggles, a moment where their worlds collided, briefly seeping into a space of understanding. Before they could truly navigate this raw moment, her phone buzzed sharply, tearing through the fragile connection. It was Mia. "Mom, I'm in an accident." The words rang in her ears, heavy, as dread clouded her mind. In an instant, the cafe faded. As she raced past tables, the unfinished conversation drifted behind her, heavy with questions, and an unrelenting pressure built around her heart. What would happen now? Would she be able to return to that moment with Lucas? The stakes soared, and uncertainty loomed like a storm on the horizon. The car's headlights sliced through the dark, a blur of color and panic, illuminating Jessica's mental chaos as she navigated toward the hospital. The news clung to her like an unwanted shroud, a chill sinking deeper with each mile. Mia. The one person who made the grind worth enduring. Her heart hammered against her ribcage, a frantic reminder that life could shift in an instant. Time warped in the sterile hospital waiting room, each tick of the clock a mocking reminder of her powerlessness. Nurses moved like shadows, but their blur of scrubs and hollowed expressions offered no solace. Jess's phone vibrated again, this time a message from Lucas. "I hope everything's okay." The word okay felt like a bitter joke. How could anything be okay? "Mom?" The soft voice of a doctor broke through her spiral of thoughts, dragging her back into grim reality. He shared carefully chosen words: bumps, bruises, nothing serious, but it wasn't he lost on her that the ache clawing at her heart was indeed serious. Each breath felt heavier, as if she were carrying the weight of not just her fragility, but Mia's hopes and dreams too. Mia appeared moments later, bandaged but smiling, a beacon of resilience in this sea of uncertainty. Jess wrapped her arms around her, the embrace offering a reprieve from her racing thoughts. "I was so scared," she whispered, feeling the floodgates of her worry give way. "I'm okay, Mom," Mia reassured, her eyes bright with youthful defiance. In that moment, Jessica confronted not just her daughter's fragility, but her own, a stark reminder that she couldn't afford to stay stagnant, not while nurturing a life full of dreams beside her. The art contest flyer stubbornly clung to the edge of her mind, insistent. As Mia settled, Jessica's thoughts turned inward. This peculiar moment ignited something dormant within her. For so long, she'd allowed the voice of self-doubt to go unchallenged, drowning in the narrative that encapsulated her life. But standing in that hospital room, she felt the first stirrings of determination swell, a storm brewing inside her. Before slipping into a well-deserved rest, Mia handed Jessica a crumpled sketch from her backpack, a doodle of their cafe, her eyes sparkling with pride. "This is us, Mom. One day we'll own a place like this." In that instant, that dream, seemingly ludicrous before, began to glimmer with possibility. Perhaps their lives didn't have to be a series of relinquished ambitions. Perhaps they could carve a path out from the shadows of expectation and into the light of their own creation. Returning home later that night, sleep eluding her, Jessica pulled out her phone, her fingers deftly navigating the art contest details she had saved. An idea began to take shape. What if she leveraged her creativity and poured it into something that could shift their narratives? The thought scared her and exhilarated her in equal measure. Against the backdrop of doubt, she could see a roadmap emerging. Every brushstroke of paint or curve of a pencil could be an act of rebellion against the monotony that threatened to suffocate them. She could redefine her purpose, not just as a waitress but as an artist and mother, intertwining their fates through the threads of passion and possibility. Determined, Jessica began to formulate a plan. To refine her skills, seek out inspiration, and create a vision for the future, one where Mia could flourish without the shadows of poverty lingering at their heels. Before dawn broke, she sent a quick message to Lucas, subtly, without revealing too much. "We should catch up. I have some ideas." He responded positively, but with sheer curiosity it was enough to invigorate her resolve. Little did she know, the uncertainty that loomed around this budding relationship would also ignite her quest for independence, forcing her to confront more than just her art but also the true nature of her own heart. As the sun began to rise, illuminating a new day, Jessica stood on the precipice of change, ready to confront the inner critic that had long subdued her. The question echoed in her mind: how far was she willing to go to create the life she envisioned? The moment was just beginning, and the future shimmered tantalizingly on the horizon, waiting for her to embrace it fully. Dawn crept in through the thin curtains, casting a muted glow across Jessica's bedroom. She lay awake, contemplating the weight of the world pressing down. The quiet hum of the morning felt oddly comforting, yet stifling. Today marked the first step toward her artistic resurgence, but the fear of failure gnawed at her. Could she really transform her reality? After a quick breakfast of toast and fruit, she sat at her neglected table, its surface scarred with splatters of paint and glimmers of forgotten aspirations. The first order of business was to unearth her supplies, a box buried under the clutter of years, a testament to her faded dreams. Dust motes danced in the air as she opened the lid, revealing a world of vibrant colors, brushes, and sketchpads that spoke of potential. As her fingers brushed over the tools, a flash of memory surged within her. Art wasn't just a hobby, it once breathed life into her spirit. But could it do that again? Outside, the steady hum of daily life moved on, indifferent to her hesitations. In this moment, she was both artist and spectator, caught in the frame of her own indecision. Nervously, Jessica wiped down the table and spread out her materials. What would she create? The art contest loomed, while the dreams Mia held for their future tugged at her heartstrings. Lines, colors, and the very essence of creation felt like a lifeline. Every stroke could build a bridge toward the manifestation of their shared ambitions. With her sketchbook on hand, she hesitated, the blank page staring back at her with unforgiving clarity. Could she encapsulate her aspirations, her fears, and Mia's dreams into something tangible? She picked up a pencil, her hand trembling slightly, and began to sketch an outline of the cafe Mia imagined. The idea felt buoyant, infused with warmth and hope. But as she worked, doubt crept in like a shadow. What if it wasn't good enough? What if she was simply fooling herself? This nagging voice had been her greatest accomplice in maintaining the status quo. Jessica took a deep breath, displacing the trepidation with determination. This was about more than just art, it was about establishing a narrative that allowed them both to thrive. The morning melted into afternoon as she lost herself in the rhythm of creation. Each stroke released a fragment of her soul, translating the chaos of her emotions into colors and forms. The cafe took shape, but so too did her fears. Unbeknownst to her, art proved to be a mirror, reflecting not just her capabilities, but the weight of her anxieties. As the sun dipped towards the horizon, the ambience shifted. The tranquility of creation morphed into an undeniable anxiety as she jolted to reminders of her current reality, bills, responsibilities, the looming possibility of failure. The canvas became a battleground between fear and ambition, and the more she painted, the clearer it became that she wouldn't just expose herself, she would unveil the entirety of her struggle. In that moment of flux, Jessica's phone chimed. It was Lucas again, a reminder of the tenuous connection they'd begun to rebuild. "How's your day going?" popped up on her screen. A flurry of thoughts flooded her mind. Should she share her artistic journey with him? The risk felt monumental. To lay bare her vulnerabilities required not just courage but a willingness to be seen, flaws and all. She contemplated the authenticity he sought within her and what it might mean for the path she was forging. Would she allow herself to share this unfolding chapter or retreat back into the shadows of self-doubt? The stakes had never felt higher. In a single moment, Jessica understood she stood at a crossroads, either embracing her newfound identity or retreating to the familiar margins of her life. Decision loomed, and the shadows of doubt threatened to pull her back. With resolute fingers, she typed a message back. "It's been a day of new beginnings. Want to meet up later?" As she hit send, the future felt both exhilarating and terrifying, her heart racing in time with the shifting tides of possibility. What lay ahead would forge her resolve, either a deeper commitment to her art or an unexpected reckoning that could just as easily unravel everything she was beginning to believe in. The answer loomed like a storm cloud, waiting to break. And as she gazed out the window, contemplating the unknown, Jessica wondered, could this truly be the moment she steps into her own light, or would the lure of safety prove too powerful to resist? The cafe bustled with a comforting hum, the clinking of cups and the soft chatter providing a backdrop to Jessica's rising tension. She had arrived early, her heart thrumming with anticipation and anxiety alike. Each moment stretched as she sat at a small table near the window, her sketchbook clutched tightly in her hands. Today wasn't just about catching up with Lucas, it was about revealing pieces of herself she had kept hidden for so long. As she sipped her coffee, the warmth enveloped her, yet the steam wafting upward also carried her doubts. What if he was disappointed? What if her art was still nothing but a reflection of her insecurities? The last few days had seen her pouring her emotions onto the sketchpad, an exploration of her aspirations for both herself and Mia. Still, the fear of being rejected lingered at the edges of her awareness. When the door swung open and Lucas stepped in, a soft rush of air entered with him, displacing the anxiety that had settled around Jessica. He spotted her almost instantly and moved over, his smile mirroring the light outside, bright and inviting. The sight of him stirred a flicker of courage within her. "Hey! Sorry I'm late," he said, taking a seat across from her. "It's nice here, isn't it?" She nodded, feeling the warmth of his presence quell some of her apprehensions. They exchanged small talk about their week, but the real moment of tension hung unspoken between them. Did he still want to understand her? Would he see the complexities of her journey? After a moment, Jessica decided to bridge the growing silence. "I've been working on some art lately." The admission felt liberating but terrifying. "Oh? Really? That's great." Lucas leaned forward, his interest piquing. "What kind of stuff?" Her pulse quickened. It's about this cafe that I imagined. It holds a lot of meaning for me." As she spoke, she felt compelled to sketch the vision that danced in her mind. She flipped open her sketchbook, revealing a rough outline of the cafe, heart-shaped bunting draping cheerfully from the ceiling and tables set with fresh flowers. The colors were vivid, each stroke pulsating with an emotional weight. "I was hoping to capture a sense of community, a place of dreams," she explained, her voice gaining steadiness. "Wow, it's beautiful," he replied, genuine admiration shining in his eyes. "You really brought the idea to life, didn't you?" The conversation flowed seamlessly after that, an exchange of ideas and hopes. Jessica found it easier to talk about her dreams, and she revealed her yearning to create a space where people could gather, share stories, and find solace. But as the dialogue unfolded, a part of her still trembled. Would this permanence they were building withstand the weight of her vulnerabilities? "So, why did you choose this project?" Lucas asked, his tone probing yet gentle. Jessica's heart skipped a beat. This was the moment where her fear of exposure collided with her instinct for authenticity. Would revealing the truth propel her forward or freeze her again? Drawing in a deep breath, she decided that it was time to share more. "It's about my journey of reclaiming myself," she confessed, her hands fidgeting with the edges of the sketchpad. "After some time feeling lost, art feels like a lifeline. I want to create something that inspires not just me, but others too, especially Mia." Lucas's expression shifted, a deeper understanding dawning in his eyes. "You're not just painting, you're telling your story." His words felt like a balm, soothing some of her insecurities. However, as she connected with his quiet empathy, a lingering thought pierced through the moment. What if she was basing her worth on this emerging connection? What if, ultimately, Lucas struggled to accept her complexity? The doubts began to creep back, tangled with the newfound confidence she had been fostering. "Do you want to see more?" she asked, shifting slightly in her seat. But her mind churned with uncertainty. Would showing him her deeper work invite clarity or derail their connection? With the weight of his gaze urging her onward, she thought about the stakes. Jessica stood at the crossroads again, grappling with the need for authenticity against the fear of vulnerability. "Absolutely," Lucas encouraged, leaning back and motioning her to continue. Jessica hesitated for mere seconds, like a sculptor forcing herself to chip away at a stone before she dove in. "Okay, but be ready, because this has some layers." As she began to share, the air thickened with anticipation. She was ready to explore not just her artistry, but the uncertain terrain of her rebirth. And in that moment, she felt a flicker of hope that perhaps some storms were meant to be weathered, not escaped. But as the conversation unfolded, a message flashed across Lucas's phone, his expression tightening. The look in his eyes made Jessica's heart drop. What had she unwittingly triggered? What news awaited on the other side of vulnerability? Time seemed to halt, a stillness settling over the cafe, disrupted only by the pulsing of her own anxious thoughts. Jessica's heart raced as Lucas stared at his phone, his smile wavering. The anticipation that had filled the air dissipated, leaving behind a heavy sense of dread. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, anticipation morphing into anxiety. The world outside faded, all that mattered was the space between them and the unspoken changes pouring in like a sudden storm. Lucas tapped on the screen absently, his brow furrowed as if the weight of the news could crush him. "It's just family stuff," he said, the forced smile failing to convince either of them. It wasn't just family stuff, she could see the tension shadowing his features. Her insecurities flickered back to life. Was she asking too much of him? Had she burdened him with her problems during a moment where they were supposed to connect? The jagged line between vulnerability and exposure blurred, and she felt the sting of potential regret. "It's okay, take your time," she replied, though a sense of urgency clawed at her spirit. Jessica understood well the intricacies of family dynamics. Ghosts of her own past flashed before her, reminding her of the times she fumbled to balance personal aspirations with familial obligations. As he typed quickly, Jessica's mind became a whirlpool of conflicting thoughts. What if the news upended his emotions? What if he decided this was too difficult a moment for him? The budding connection she had felt moments prior risked shattering against the uncertainty of his family dynamics. The seconds dragged on, each moment amplifying her awareness of the space around them. The cafe's laughter seemed muted now, the coffee machine's hum a ghostly reminder of a normalcy that felt painfully out of reach. He finally looked up, a flicker of regret marking his features. "I'm sorry," he said, the words heavy. "It's just a lot happening with my brother, and I didn't expect to have this unfold today." His eyes searched hers, and in that gaze, she recognized both the sincerity and a plea for understanding. "I get it," she managed to say, her voice steady despite the turmoil within her. One part of her wanted to reach out, to embrace his vulnerabilities as he did hers, while another urged restraint. "Please, talk about it if you need to." The dimming light of the cafe channeled her thoughts. Her desire to stay connected battled the apprehension that came with revealing their burdens. Who was she to ask him to shoulder her struggles after witnessing his distress? Just as she prepared to retreat to her own thoughts back to the safety of her art and dreams, a glimmer of determination sparked within her. "You know, my art can wait," she ventured, each word deliberate, allowing her heart's desire for honesty to overshadow her fear. "It's about connection in moments like this, right?" He nodded slightly, but the tension didn't fully dissipate. "I thought today would be a good chance for us to talk, to maybe share. I'm just not sure where my head is at." Jessica took a breath, feeling the sway between openness and emotional risk. She had taken this leap into vulnerability once already. Now was the time to rethink what that meant. Could she still be honest with her aspirations while accommodating the tempest swirling within him? What if we don't share everything in one go? Sometimes a small step is all it takes to find clarity in the chaos, she suggested, her heart stirring with a new sense of purpose. She would navigate the contours of her emotional landscape alongside him. His gaze softened, a hint of gratitude sparking in his eyes. "I'd like that. Maybe just listen for now." And with that, the tension shifted. Her path forward was not solely through her art, but also in supporting Lucas, allowing their connection to deepen through shared burdens. As he began to unveil layers of his own struggles, she felt a swell of courage against her doubts. This was not a surrender, it was an exploration of solidarity, two flawed souls attempting to navigate life's intricacies together. But lurking just beneath the surface of their conversation was another wave of uncertainty. What if, in the end, his family obligations pulled him away? What if the very connection they forged today became a bridge to an inevitable farewell? With a newly locked gaze, they intertwined their fears and hopes, poised on the precipice of newfound intimacy. And just as she prepared to navigate this shared realm of vulnerability, Lucas spoke again, setting the stage for a revelation that could alter everything. "You know, I can't help but think about why we connect so easily. I think it has to do with something deeper," he mused, hesitating, as if the weight of his words could shift the ground beneath them. What truth was he about to unveil? Jessica felt a tremor of anticipation course through her, a mix of fear and hope brewing beneath the surface. Lucas's words hung precariously in the air, teetering on the edge of revelation. The intimacy that had begun to unfurl between them now felt laden with potential consequences, and she could sense the weight of his unspoken thoughts pressing down on her. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice firm but inviting, as if drawing him closer into this shared moment. He leaned back slightly, the daunting task of articulating his feelings evident in the way he shifted in his seat. "I don't usually connect with people like this so quickly, so openly. It's unsettling, but also comforting," he confessed, his expression a cocktail of vulnerability and awe. "My life has always been filled with expectations, and right now, I just want to break free of them." Jessica's heart ached at the admission. Here was Lucas, a man who seemed to have everything through the lens of societal success, grappling with personal constraints that stifled his spirit. She could relate. Her own life, with its countless demands, often felt like a tightening vice, forcing her to suppress her dreams. "Expectations can be suffocating," she replied, a spark of understanding igniting a deeper connection. "It's like being in a cage where everyone assumes you should be happy because of what you have. But happiness is more complex, isn't it?" "Exactly," he replied, his voice steadier as he embraced the thread of conversation they were weaving. "I want to pursue what makes me genuinely happy, that's why I'm considering taking time off work. But I worry about what my family will think." Her mind raced as she absorbed his words. He was battling the same fears that resided within her, the fear of judgment, of disappointing loved ones, of failing to live up to potential that felt more like a prison than a pathway to fulfillment. This shared struggle stirred a determination within her to build a bridge between their wounds and aspirations. "I think it's crucial to reflect on what makes you happy," she encouraged. "Have you ever thought about what that happiness looks like for you, Lucas? Not in terms of family or work, but for you personally?" He paused, eyes turning inward as if sifting through layers of untapped desires. She could almost see him wrestling with his thoughts, a battle she had fought countless times. I haven't really allowed myself that kind of self-reflection," he admitted, a note of regret coloring his voice. "Between work and family obligations, I often forget to check in with myself. I've been so caught up in being present for everyone else that I lost track of what I even want. Maybe that's why this connection feels different. You're the first person in a long time I feel I can be honest with." In that moment, as they exchanged silent acknowledgments of their shared burdens, Jessica felt a jolt of realization. While she had always viewed her role as one to uplift others through her art, perhaps it was also her responsibility to prioritize her own growth and dreams. Lucas's struggle gave her the perspective she needed to understand that nurturing connections did not mean sacrificing oneself. Yet as the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting shadows across their table, an unsettling thought crept into her mind. What if, after this moment, Lucas couldn't find the courage to pursue his own happiness? And what if that hesitation eventually pulled them apart? The gravity of their shared reality loomed larger with every passing second. Swallowing her uncertainty, she leaned in, looking directly into his eyes. "Whatever the outcome, just know that understanding who we are outside those expectations is a journey that could change everything for us. I think we should embark on that together." Lucas met her gaze, the flicker of hope returning in his eyes but tempered by doubt. "What if I fail?" he whispered, vulnerability masking his voice. "That's just part of the process," she murmured back. "But you won't be alone." He nodded slowly, but the weight of his next admission remained unspoken. The air crackled with anticipation, thick with both anxiety and the potential for growth. In that charged moment, Jessica knew they stood at a crossroads that could redefine their lives. Just as she was braced to dive deeper into this exploration of connection, Lucas shifted again. "You know, the reason I held back, there's something I haven't told you about my family that might explain why I feel so lost. It could change everything." The unsteady rhythm of Jessica's heart quickened again as she realized they were on the brink of delving into territory that could challenge not just their budding intimacy, but also their individual identities. What revelation awaited them, and would it forge an unbreakable bond or fracture the delicate trust they had built? As Jessica leaned forward, the tension in the air thickened. Lucas's hesitation spoke volumes, stirring within her a brewing sense of urgency. It was clear that whatever revelation he held could either fortify their connection or lay bare the fractures of his past. A split second felt like an eternity as she braced herself for the unknown. "Jessica, my family, they have this idea of success that's been drummed into me since I was a kid," he began, his voice trembling slightly. The raw honesty in his tone caught Jessica off guard, a sensation both thrilling and terrifying. To them, success isn't just a metric, it's a lifestyle, a brand. "I've dedicated my life to pleasing them, and in doing so, I've become someone I barely recognize." A chill ran through her, resonating deeply with her own struggles. The relentless pursuit of validation, the suffocating expectations she had lived it, poured her soul into crafting images that only mirrored others' perceived worth. "What does that mean for you now?" she asked, her words a gentle probe into his turmoil. "I'm terrified of what they'll say when I tell them I want to step back," he replied, a gravity weighing down every syllable. "I can't shake this feeling that if I take a moment for myself, I'll be letting everyone down. It's as if I'm caught in a web of obligations, and the thought of retreating feels like a betrayal." Jessica's mind raced. She could sense the familiar yet daunting path stretching out before them, one of personal confrontation that neither of them had fully traversed. The thought of not being enough resonated in her gut, the unresolved fear whispering its haunting tales of doubt. However, with each passing moment spent in Lucas's tumultuous company, she understood that their shared willingness to confront these ghosts could hold the promise of healing. "You're not betraying them by seeking your happiness," she urged, her voice steady. "Finding your path is not an act of rebellion, it's an act of authenticity. They'll come to see that eventually. You can't carry their expectations if they only serve to weigh you down." Lucas met her gaze, and she wondered if he could see her own reflections within those depths, her own struggles to capture what was truly hers to claim. She felt a flicker of hope swell in response to his vulnerability, and it lit a tentative path forward. This exchange could be a catalyst for both their personal revolutions. As Lucas absorbed her words, a shift occurred in his demeanor. The man she had first met, a polished figure, consumed by the glossy expectations of his world, was peeling back, revealing a thoughtful individual emerging from the shadows. She wanted desperately to facilitate that journey. "I think," he started hesitantly, "maybe I could take that break. I've considered it before but never quite had the nerve. Perhaps the fear of disappointing everyone has clouded my vision for so long." Empowered by his revelation, Jessica felt a swell of inspiration surge within her, invigorating her own desire for change. She glanced around the cafe, the bustling noise surrounding them fading into the background as her focus narrowed onto this pivotal moment. Taking that step could be the key to unlocking who you are beyond all that noise. "But what do I do once I step away? How do I navigate this journey?" he asked, uncertainty creeping in, threatening to undo the resolve he had just conjured. "In stepping back, you give yourself permission to explore," she replied firmly, tapping into a newfound energy. "Set aside time to understand your desires, whether it's a long-standing passion or a new pursuit. Remember, growth necessitates exploration. It's not merely about knowing what you want but also about discovering what you can become." Lucas nodded, visibly processing her words. The weight of constrained expectations began to morph into something more manageable, more transparent. As they continued the dialogue, Jessica felt the barriers between them dissolve further, and a shared determination grew, an awakening to the transformative journey that lay ahead. "And what about us?" Lucas asked, his voice barely above a whisper, the uncertainty still hanging as he struggled to articulate the depth of his concern. "What happens if I take this leap and it changes everything between us?" Jessica caught her breath. The raw possibility of change sent tremors through her heart, a thrilling blend of trepidation and exhilaration weaving through her thoughts. Her own journey had mirrored his in unexpected ways, and here they stood, poised for growth yet uncertain of the terrain. "Change is not an end but a beginning," she replied, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "If we are both navigating this journey of exploration and unveiling ourselves, we might find something richer at the end." Their gazes locked again, a shared pulse of understanding igniting their connection. They stood on the brink of twin transformations. Just as Jessica felt ready to lean in further, her phone buzzed unexpectedly, jolting her from the moment. The message brought news that threatened to unravel everything, a significant announcement from the very institution where Lucas had built his career. As she scanned the message, realization hit her hard. The tides were shifting faster than their current path of exploration. Could this new development act as a catalyst for both their awakening? And if so, what would it reveal about their budding relationship amid a storm of revelations? The cafe's ambience faded around Jessica as she processed the sudden message lighting up her phone. The announcement threatened to cast a shadow over the hopeful dialogue she and Lucas had initiated. It detailed swift changes in leadership, unforeseen layoffs, and a drastic reevaluation of company priorities that could obliterate everything Lucas had worked for. This revelation clawed at her thoughts, pulling her focus from the electrifying connection they had just begun to forge. "Lucas," she switched gears, her voice steady but laced with concern. "I just got a message about your company. Things are shifting there quickly." His expression shifted as the weight of reality settled in. Searching Jessica's face for answers, he leaned back in his chair, deflated. "What do you mean? Is it about the restructuring?" "No specifics, but it sounds serious. There are layoffs imminent, and I worry it might impact your role." The spark in Lucas's eyes dimmed, awareness dawning as if he were seeing the world through a different lens. Jessica had unwittingly unleashed a torrent of doubt and fear, echoing the very themes they had just discussed. His desire for personal transformation clashed with the fright of losing everything he had built. "I can't believe this is happening now," he whispered, his voice thick with dread. The revelation snaked through his mind, coiling tightly around his ambitions and dreams. "How are you feeling about all this?" Jessica asked, wanting him to articulate the storm brewing just beneath the surface. It was crucial for them both to confront their emotions head-on, not just to survive, but to grow. I feel paralyzed, like everything is crumbling around me," he admitted. "I always thought climbing higher would keep me safe, and now it feels like the ground is falling away." Jessica watched him grapple with his emotions, her heart racing with empathy. This was the moment when his confrontation wasn't just with his family or the expectations weighing on him, but with the very fabric of his identity and career. "You have a choice here, Lucas. You can either let fear dictate your next moves, or you can redefine what success means to you in this moment of chaos." His brow furrowed with intensity. "What does that even look like? I've spent so long chasing something that feels real, and now it seems it was never mine to begin with." "Exactly." Jessica propelled herself forward, energized by his vulnerability. "This is your chance to carve out a definition of success on your own terms. You might be losing something that was never truly yours, allowing you to discover what truly fulfills you." Still, uncertainty clouded Lucas's eyes. The brilliance of possibility was dimmed by the flickering shadows of what-ifs and maybes. "But if I do step back, if I try to find my own path, I might lose everything anyway. I don't want to disenchant myself further." Jessica leaned forward, willing him to connect with her. "What if stepping back is the only way to see the opportunities ahead? Your experiences, even the painful ones, are simply chapters in the story of your life. Perhaps this disruption is your moment, an urgent call to seek what truly aligns with your values." His gaze softened, wrestling with the juxtaposition of fear and hope that Jessica had sparked within him. For the first time, it seemed as though he could envision a path illuminated by self-discovery rather than obligation. But just as she sensed a breakthrough, doubt crept back in, clouding his resolve. "Jessica, do I have it in me to recreate my life from scratch?" Lucas's voice trembled slightly, exposing his deepest fear. Jessica felt a deepening resolve within herself. You'll never know if you don't try. It's about showcasing your talents, the ones you might have sidelined for too long. If you can embrace the uncertainty, you can invite growth into your life. He nodded slowly, still processing her words. The shadows of his self-doubt lingered, brushing against his burgeoning sense of possibility. Just then, another vibration shook Jessica's phone. This time, it was a personal message, a reminder scheduled for the day ahead, a local workshop on creative writing she had signed up for but had almost forgotten in the chaos of their discussion. The juxtaposition struck her. Here she was, urging Lucas to embrace his personal journey, while she had been hesitant about pursuing her own creative ambitions. An epiphany ignited within her. It was now or never for both of them. She felt the fervor for change return, now mirrored in the two of them leaning into their uncertainty. Lucas, tomorrow I'm attending a workshop I signed up for a while back. It's about exploring our voices through creativity, Jessica exclaimed, enthusiasm radiating from her. You should consider coming with me to something similar. If we explore our passions, we could both unearth what we've been sitting on. Lucas hesitated, uncertainties roiling in the corners of his mind. But beneath that pressure, the flicker of hope rested, a hope that maybe stepping into the unknown together could turn both their lives in a new direction. As he pondered her suggestion, Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that the upcoming workshop would be a decisive turning point for them both, a location where they might begin to confront the truth of their lives beyond preset boundaries. But the invitation carried a weight. Would he accept the leap of faith, not just for himself but for the path they were beginning to thread together? A decision loomed, one that could close off an avenue of resistance or open a new door to freedom. Dread coiled in her stomach as she awaited his answer. Would tomorrow present a breakthrough, or would they both retreat once again into the shadows of fear? The rhythm of change hung in the air, awaiting his response. Jessica leaned back in her chair, her heart racing while waiting for Lucas to respond. The cafe buzzed around them, oblivious to the tension crackling between them like thin sheets of ice ready to shatter. His silence felt monumental, each moment stretching unbearably long as doubt seeped into the cracks of her own resolve. How had she reached this point, standing at a crossroads not only for Lucas but for herself? With her own creative aspirations on the line, Jessica was no stranger to the weight of fear. She'd often put aside her desires, trapped by the same suffocating expectations that Lucas wrestled against. Yet now, buoyed by a strange sense of purpose, she felt a shift within her, one that urged her to embrace her voice while inviting Lucas to do the same. "What are you thinking?" she finally pressed, breaking the silence before it could bury the momentum they had created. "I just don't know if I have it in me," Lucas sighed, looking defeated, his gaze cast down. "Starting over feels daunting, even terrifying." Jessica's instinct was to comfort him, but she knew this was also a pivotal moment for her to push through her own hesitations. What if instead of thinking of it as starting over, you see it as a discovery phase? Every journey begins with uncertainty. If you take the step, you're only uncovering what has been lying dormant inside you all along. His eyes flickered with the faintest hint of intrigue but quickly succumbed to a deeper fear. "But what if I fail? What if this is just another dead end?" "Failure is part of the equation," she retorted gently. "In fact, it's a teacher. We won't find all the answers, we just need to explore. You have skills, experiences, and insights that could reshape your future. You can pivot. You can adapt." For the first time, Lucas seemed to consider her words. Jess could see the wheels turning in his mind, doubt battling against a burgeoning sense of possibility. There was a palpable moment of silence as he fought with himself, and Jessica ached to see him overcome the shackles of his fear. "So you're saying that I need to take risks? That stepping outside what I know could actually lead to growth?" "Exactly," she affirmed. "This can be liberating. Trust that you can synthesize your experience and your passions into something meaningful." A flicker of determination crossed Lucas's face, and Jessica breathed a sigh of relief. They were standing on the edge together, looking into the vast uncertainties of their future, however unclear, that could blossom into something unexpected. But the moment was still tentative, precarious. Before she could build on his nascent resolve, Lucas's phone buzzed with notifications. The moment felt fleeting, a reminder that the world outside their bubble was unrelenting and often unforgiving. "I might not even have a job tomorrow, Jess. I can't just pretend this isn't happening," he murmured, though the fire sparked in his eyes suggested he was wrestling with a different mindset. Jessica glanced outside where the sunlight dipped low, casting shadows across the pavement. "Then maybe that's what drives you. Let this situation fuel you into exploring the very things you love. Don't wait for permission to reclaim yourself." The raw truth settled firmly between them. Lucas again shifted his weight, the conflict palpable as reality pressed upon him. Jessica drew a deep breath. "For years, I've held back too, convinced that my voice didn't matter. But what if I told you that this workshop I'm attending is a chance to reclaim mine? And as much as I want to encourage you, I need the push too. Perhaps we could find new strength together?" His gaze softened again, a contemplation blossoming amidst the chaos of his situation and her own. "All right. I'll think about it. Maybe I'll join you. After all, what do I have to lose anymore?" Jessica felt a rush of exhilaration mixed with anxiety and evolving belief that they were crossing into a new territory. They could potentially emerge transformed, not just as individuals but as collaborators in self-discovery. But as the cafe began to fill with voices and activity, the fleeting sense of liberation was overshadowed by an impending sense of uncertainty. The workshop was just a step. The challenge of vulnerability lay ahead, nestled in the fabric of their lives that had thus far defined them. Would the workshop unleash their hidden strengths, or would it plunge them deeper into the abyss of their fears? A surge of urgency rippled through her as she caught Lucas's eye, both apprehending their shared vulnerability and excitement. "What if," she started again, almost hesitantly, "what if we find something in that space that challenges everything we thought we knew about ourselves?" He nodded slowly, the weight of his own indecision hanging in the air, but a newfound flicker of hope connected them. The dawning realization that tomorrow would carry the potential for something unforeseen was both thrilling and terrifying. As they both sat on the brink of something larger than themselves, Jessica felt the pressure of change simmer beneath the surface. Stepping into that workshop could redefine not just their talents but their identities. And as the last remnants of daylight slipped away outside, she pondered whether this moment could redefine not only their futures but also the very essence of who they could become together. Would they emerge as individuals forged by struggle, or return to their former selves, stifled by the limitations they had accepted for so long? As those questions lingered, the undeniable truth became clear: tomorrow was teetering on the edge of revelation, and the time had come to face the unknown together. The sun cast a vibrant glow over the cafe, illuminating Jessica as she prepared herself for the workshop. Today marked an essential turning point, not just for her, but potentially for Lucas as well. Their conversations, layered with vulnerability and a shared yearning for authenticity, had set the stage for personal revelations that could shatter existing barriers. Lucas arrived just moments before the workshop began, his expression cautiously optimistic, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that had clouded him days earlier. She could sense an underlying determination bubbling in him, igniting her own anticipation. Together, they took their seats, the immediate surroundings filled with a diverse crowd comprised of aspiring artists, writers, and dreamers, all eager to find their voices. As the facilitator initiated the session, Jessica felt the air thrum with possibility. Get ready to break free, she thought. For so long, the weight of expectations had draped heavily over their shoulders, but now, they stood on the precipice of transformative discovery. The workshop began with simple exercises designed to loosen the rigidity of their thoughts and allow creativity to flow uninhibited. Lucas hesitated at first, brow furrowed as he grappled with self-doubt. But when Jessica joined him in sketching ideas that fueled their dreams, he gradually began to let down his guard. The act of creation seeped into their bones, replacing trepidation with enthusiasm. Jessica poured her heart into every stroke on her sketchpad, envisioning not just the cafe Mia longed for but also the impact their lives could have on others. Each design idea echoed with purpose. She was charting a future where both she and Mia could thrive, unshackled from the burdens that dogged them. Watching the passion ignite in Jessica's eyes as she created ignited something profound in Lucas as well. His pencil began to glide across his own sketchpad, capturing the essence of his newfound journey. With each line, he explored notions of freedom, happiness, and career exploration, slowly uncovering truths buried beneath layers of obligation. As lunch approached, the facilitator encouraged artists to share their work, a prospect that sent shivers down both of their spines. Jessica found herself swallowing hard, the vulnerability of revealing her innermost feelings to strangers a daunting prospect. Yet, when it was her turn, she rose with resolve. "This cafe represents the dreams I've put aside," Jessica spoke, her voice filled with conviction. "It symbolizes a future I want not just for myself but for my daughter, a space that nurtures creativity and cohesion." As she shared, her thoughts swirled to how far she had come, no longer just a waitress bound by limitations, instead, a mother and an artist deeply intertwined in a vision. Their dreams felt tangible, the air thick with the power of authenticity. The applause that followed settled a deep sense of achievement within her. For so long, she had feared this moment, the risk of exposure petrifying her. But now, standing there, she recognized something monumental. She was an artist in her own right, capable of shaping not just her life but Mia's future too. Next, it was Lucas's turn. He took a deep breath, fingers brushing over his sketch. "I've been living under my family's expectations for too long," he began, locking eyes with Jessica. "But through this workshop, I'm ready to define my journey on my own terms." As he shared insights into his artistic endeavor, a vibrant mural symbolizing reclamation of his identity, Jessica felt an undeniable current of connection surge between them. His raw honesty resonated, drawing her nearer, propelling her to acknowledge the beautiful, messy evolution they were both undergoing. The group responded with applause, affirmations of his courage echoing the space and enveloping them both in support. Lucas's earlier fears began to crumble, replaced by the empowering recognition that he could forge his own identity, free from the weight of unrealistic expectations. When the session concluded, Lucas turned to Jessica, his expression a mash of gratitude and excitement. "I never thought I could feel this liberated through art." He paused, looking out at the cafe, then back at her. "Your intuition about exploring our passions together was spot on. I think I'm ready to embrace this change." A swell of pride coursed through Jessica, reflecting on how far they both had come, how their individual journeys had intertwined into one of mutual support, fostering growth rather than fear. The realization that they could truly uplift each other defined something profound in their bond. They were no longer only two souls seeking authenticity but rather catalysts of transformation. Days turned to weeks, and their artistic explorations blossomed. Jessica submitted her artwork to the contest, while Lucas actively began exploring opportunities to take a break from his former role, delving deeper into what might make him genuinely happy. Mia watched her mother with admiration, observing the profound change around her. "You're going to win, Mom." She cheered, confidence spilling from her bright eyes. Whether Jessica won or not was no longer the core of her ambition. She had achieved something far more significant. She had rekindled her passion, her identity, and most importantly the courage to reshape her future alongside Lucas and Mia. The final step of their journey resonated like a universal truth. They were no longer defined by their struggles but by filled canvases of limitless potential. And as they entered a new chapter together, each stride resonated with the understanding that they had conquered self-doubt, embracing a life aligned with their dreams. This realization anchored a new confidence in both of them. Their differences had transformed into strengths, and the budding partnership had evolved into something deeper. As Jessica turned to Lucas, a surge of excitement enveloped her. "Are you ready for the next step?" He grinned, a reflection of an equal but opposite determination in his eyes. "Absolutely." Together. At that moment, they stood ready to face the world anew, unencumbered. The horizon shimmered before them, brimming with opportunities waiting to be claimed. Now was the moment they could embrace the incredible transformation that was no longer a distant dream but a tangible and shared reality. And launching into that horizon, they were ready to paint a new narrative, one filled with purpose, courage, and authentic joy. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.